Welcome to the Pharma MES 2018. On my side is Dhruv from Synapto. Please introduce yourself and what you are doing and what your company are doing.
My name is Dhruv Patel. I'm an undergraduate bioengineering student in the University of Maryland College Park. I'm also the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Synapto. We are an early-stage medical technology venture aiming to transform the way Alzheimer's diagnosis is made through new and emerging portable electroencephalogram technologies and artificial intelligence models.
Tomorrow evening you have a closing keynote.
That's correct.
Please tell me about what will be the topic of the case study.
The keynote will be about how we, as such an undergraduate team from an early stage, were able to develop these AI models that were able to, truly transform the future of healthcare innovation. How we, as a team, were able to use different new methods such as agile development, new things like big data in healthcare. And how people in the audience, how you as well can apply these methods in your daily life as well to achieve new and great results in your life sciences work as well.
What is the aim of Synapto? What will you change? What is the iBasic idea?
Yeah, for sure. So right now, Alzheimer's diagnosis is extremely complicated. More times than not, it happens after symptoms are already displayed and after the brain has already undergone significant neurodegeneration. And so we're trying to change that by applying these new predictive technologies earlier in the diagnosis pathway. And by doing so, we enable the patient to undergo financial planning. We enable the patient to undergo family planning, legal planning, undergo possibly even new clinical trials for novel drugs set forth by pharmaceutical companies. What we're also finding is that these kinds of technologies that are able to assess the disease at every step of the way can also be used in pharmaceutical drug development trials as well. So let's say a company wants to see how well their drug is doing after a certain therapy or after a certain time is applied. We can now, instead of costly and time-consuming methods, we can apply these technologies instead and assess whether it's going well or whether it's going bad, and how we can change the drug regimen to make it go forward in the correct process.
You are in an early stage startup?
That's correct. We are an early stage startup.
What are the first steps you already done, and what will be the future in the next 2 years or 1 year?
We're based in the United States right now, so one of our primary goals right now is to collect enough funding to conduct our own pilot study. We want to conduct a large-scale, unprecedented clinical pilot study that is capable of proving the efficacy of our already generated biomarkers, and thus making us approvable for the initial 510K or the initial FDA United States pathway for a medical device of our sort. After we receive these kinds of approvals, we want to be able to tap into existing reimbursement chains and hopefully make this device accessible to all. After we get the initial approval, we'll be pushing this device into doctors' offices and start collecting even more data from a field data point of view, so from a third-party point of view, and start collecting more longitudinal data and hopefully apply for another FDA approval that will allow our device to be even more powerful on a more predictive analysis scale.
And what is the time frame?
The time frame, so I'd say in terms of FDA approval, could be anywhere between 2 to 3 years.
What challenges you are facing in biotechnology area and pharmaceutical?
I'd say a really big challenge right now, and it could be possibly because of the nature of our work, is just is clinical data acquisition. Because right now we see that the cost of a clinical trial is not going down, and it's very tough to recruit patients as well. It's very tough to keep up with compliance, with quality assurance, and especially to do that as an early stage startup in the biotechnology field is certainly been a challenge for us. And so the way that we're trying to overcome these challenges is by tapping into existing networks and trying to streamline management through new softwares that are becoming available, as well as real-world data and real-world evidence.
How will AI and big data change the life of the patient?
I think one of the biggest problems right now in the way the Alzheimer's diagnosis is done is that it's very convoluted, right? So, and it's not very systematic. We see patients that are undergoing some pathways because a clinician might think it's the best pathway to go, and it's very different from other patients. And so there's no there's no corroboration, there's no systematic pathway and there's no network of physicians. They're not talking to each other. The research and data can't be transferred and they can't be understood because the biomarkers are so different. And I think what we're doing with AI and what we're doing with our system is we're basically conglomerating an entire database of our proprietary EEG analytics, as well as any other kind of clinical data measures that the clinician houses and collects. And essentially, our long-term vision is to be able to share that with that network, with the patient's network of physicians, and even more physicians, to create a sense of learned insights that will essentially change the way patients can truly receive a diagnosis and change the way physicians are able to give a diagnosis as well.
Will you change the ecosystem for pharmaceutical and biotechnology, or have the ecosystem to change to get opener for collecting data and sharing data?
Yeah, I think it's a twofold way, right? So I think the system allows you to collect data and share data on a wide scale basis, but it also enables you to transform the ecosystem of Alzheimer's drug development in that entire landscape. Because, like I said before, right now they use PET scans, MRI scans, sometimes sometimes fMRI as well, to evaluate the disease at every step of the way, which also sometimes leads to patient dropouts as well. I think Alzheimer's Association just came out recently and they said that one of the biggest problems in our world right now with clinical trials, especially in the Alzheimer's field, is just lack of patients. There just aren't enough patients being recommended to these trials and being put through these trials. And I think what our system allows us to do is not only share this data with physicians so that they can make better insights and maybe better refer these patients to a clinical trial, but also enables pharmaceutical industry to reduce their costs and thus increasing their patient throughput.
Thank you for your insight.
Yeah.
And I wish you tomorrow a nice closing keynote, and have fun.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it and I look forward to giving it.
Yeah.